I was just 18 when I decided to dip my toes into the world of Tinder, back in the heyday of 2018, when the app was all the rage among young folks. Nearly everyone I knew was swiping away on it, whether to find that special someone or just for kicks. While I wasn't exactly a supermodel, being a young blonde with a bit of a knack for attracting attention, I felt I deserved someone with a bit more substance than the boys I'd known in school. I craved confidence and purpose, qualities that seemed rare among guys my age at the time. So I dove into Tinder, thinking it might be the place to find what I was looking for. I didn't sign up right when I turned 18, but it didn't take long after. After setting up my profile and sifting through profiles, I found myself swiping and chatting away, caught up in the excitement of it all. Eventually, I connected with James, a 24-year-old with a cool skater vibe. Our chats quickly moved from Tinder to Telegram, and then to video calls. I was relieved to find that James was genuine, unlike some of the exaggerated profiles out there. We decided to meet up, initially planning a coffee shop date, but I suggested something different. The idea of meeting someone outside of the digital realm felt oddly rare and exciting. James agreed, and we settled on grabbing pizza one Friday night. When he arrived to pick me up, I was nervous, but also strangely comforted by our previous interactions. James was exactly as he presented himself online: tall, confident, and incredibly polite. Our pizza date was chilly but perfect, and as we finished up, we decided to take a walk in a nearby park. The park was serene, and despite the darkness, I felt safe with James by my side. That is, until we encountered a homeless man, disheveled and seemingly lost in his own world. James quickly pulled me away, and we attempted to avoid any interaction, but the man began to approach us, his demeanor growing more aggressive. In a split-second decision, James grabbed my hand, and we sprinted back to the car, leaving the man stumbling behind us. Looking back from the safety of the car, I realized the gravity of James's actions. His priority was our safety, and I couldn't help but feel grateful for his quick thinking. Though our relationship didn't progress beyond a few dates, that night served as a stark reminder of the importance of being with someone who prioritizes safety and acts decisively in the face of unexpected challenges. If you liked this story, subscribe to the channel to stay tuned. A few weeks into my foray into the world of online dating, I received a message from a man who seemed almost too good to be true. He had a 99% match rate with me, the highest I'd ever seen, and he lived just a stone's throw away. His first message was refreshingly different, delving into topics beyond the usual small talk. Intrigued, we hit it off, chatting online, adding each other on social media, and soon making plans to meet in person. When the day of our date arrived, I was a mix of nerves and excitement. He was waiting for me outside the restaurant, and he exceeded my expectations in looks and charm. Through dinner, we found ourselves engrossed in conversation, oblivious to the passing time. As the evening drew to a close, I couldn't shake off my insecurities, wondering if someone as attractive as him could truly be interested in someone like me. Yet, as we said our goodbyes, he surprised me with a kiss, igniting a spark between us that only grew with each subsequent date. Despite my doubts, it seemed he was genuinely drawn to me for who I was, not just superficial qualities. As our relationship blossomed, I found myself falling deeper in love, eager for a fresh start after a difficult marriage. One sunny afternoon, we decided to meet at a coffee shop, planning to enjoy each other's company with a leisurely walk in a nearby forest. The forest, though serene, harbored an eerie atmosphere, foreshadowing the unexpected turn our date would take. Lost in thoughts of a future with him, I barely noticed the arrival of a woman, until her accusatory words shattered my illusions. It turned out, he was not only in another relationship, but was married. The revelation hit me like a ton of bricks, leaving me stunned and heartbroken as his wife confronted us both. With him leaving without so much as a goodbye, I was left alone, grappling with the pain of betrayal and abandonment. Turning to the dating app in search of answers, I found his profile deleted, along with his disappearance from my social media. cut off and reeling from the deception, I struggled to pick up the pieces of my shattered heart, grappling with the realization that the person I thought could be my future was living a lie. The once peaceful setting of the coffee shop had transformed into a nightmare, haunting me long after that fateful day. It was a harsh wake-up call, a reminder of the unpredictability of love and the pain of being deceived. Yet, amidst the wreckage, I found a newfound strength, determined to rebuild my life and guard my heart against further betrayal. At the time when all of this unfolded, I was 26 years old and residing at my parents' place. My father had recently lost his job, and my mother had suffered a severe leg injury. To add to our woes, my grandmother was bravely battling cancer. It was undoubtedly a trying period for our family, yet we rallied together to provide mutual support. Consequently, I had to bid farewell to my university town, where I was diligently pursuing important courses, and return home to attend to these pressing family matters. Finding myself in need of employment, I secured a position at a local drugstore and threw myself into work like never before. There were weeks where I found myself clocking in up to 60 hours, always on my feet. Compounding these challenges was the recent end of a difficult relationship, leaving me feeling profoundly isolated amidst the somber atmosphere at home. After a few months of navigating this new routine, I felt compelled to seek out some semblance of happiness amidst the gloom. Having been unceremoniously banned from a dating site, I ventured on to OkCupid, where fate led me to encounter a girl whose photos exuded sheer radiance. Engaging in spirited conversations, we mutually agreed to meet in person. However, due to her being under 21, our options for a first date were limited. Undeterred, I decided to bring along some drinks to her place, embarking on a journey that would prove to be far longer and more arduous than anticipated. Upon finally arriving at her residence, I was taken aback by the dilapidated state of her surroundings. The neighborhood exuded an air of neglect, with unsettling scenes unfolding before my eyes, including the distressing sight of teenagers mistreating a cat nearby. Nevertheless, when she emerged to greet me, it became evident that the girl I had envisioned from her photos was not entirely reflective of reality. While not overweight, she appeared visibly unkempt and unhealthy, her attire bearing the marks of neglect. Despite these initial misgivings, I resolved to proceed with the evening, harboring the notion that my presence there was known only to us. However, as the night wore on, it became increasingly apparent that her circumstances were far from ideal. Her lack of ambition to improve her situation was particularly striking, leaving me grappling with a sense of discomfort as we resorted to drinking tequila straight from the bottle. Amidst the dim glow of the evening, I found myself momentarily swayed by the alcohol-induced haze, leading to a fleeting moment of intimacy between us. However, a surge of clarity soon washed over me, prompting the realization that she was in a vulnerable state, and taking advantage of her would be morally reprehensible. Excusing myself under the pretext of needing to use the bathroom, I found solace in the reflection staring back at me, serving as a poignant reminder of the privileges I often took for granted. As she divulged the trials and tribulations of her past, I couldn't help but feel a profound sense of empathy for her plight. Upon attempting to depart, I discovered that my money had mysteriously vanished. Opting not to make a fuss, I made my way back home, only to be intercepted by law enforcement due to my inebriated state. Despite the levity with which the officers treated my predicament, I couldn't help but feel a pang of shame at the realization of my folly. Eventually, I was compelled to seek assistance from my parents, adding to their already considerable burden. The girl's persistent attempts to reach out to me in the aftermath of our encounter served as a stark reminder of the need for caution and discernment in matters of the heart. In retrospect, this harrowing experience underscored the importance of emotional stability and mental well-being in a prospective partner. It served as a poignant reminder of the perils of becoming entangled with individuals grappling with profound issues beyond our capacity to address. As I navigated the aftermath of that fateful night, I emerged with a newfound sense of caution, cognizant of the need for mutual respect and support in any relationship. Truly, it was an evening that left an indelible mark on my psyche, serving as a sobering reminder of the unforeseen consequences that can arise from lapses in judgment. I frequently turn to online dating because hitting bars to meet people isn't really my scene, and dating apps help me avoid the awkward encounters. There was this one time a few years ago that stands out as a pretty bad date, not the absolute worst, but definitely a memorable story. We connected on Match.com, and despite a few minor warning signs in our messages, I decided to give it a shot. She seemed overly interested in my job and income, and she had this tendency to fish for compliments and flaunt her wealth. Despite my reservations, I agreed to meet her at a nice restaurant downtown. When I arrived, she was already seated, several empty glasses in front of her, and she seemed to be on her way to finishing another drink. Her pictures were accurate, maybe slightly edited to make her look thinner, but it was definitely her. She was dressed to the nines, but something about it felt a bit forced. Throughout the date, she couldn't stop talking about her possessions, her extravagant travels, and the famous people she supposedly knew. She seemed to measure her worth by material things, constantly probing into my financial status and the luxuries I owned. The warning signs became more apparent as the evening progressed. She ordered the most expensive dishes and multiple rounds of drinks for herself, barely touching her food. While I tried to keep the conversation light, she monopolized it with stories about herself. Her excessive consumption of alcohol raised concerns, and her lack of interest in food hinted at deeper issues. When it came time to settle the bill, I discreetly requested separate checks. As I paid for mine, she conveniently disappeared to the restroom. Upon her return, I made it clear that I didn't see a future for use and wished her well. Her reaction to the hefty bill was shocking, but I didn't dwell on it. Since that memorable evening, I've relocated from the Pacific Northwest to a suburb near Stockholm, Sweden. Here it's customary for women to pay for their own meals on dates, which I find fair and aligned with principles of equality. While I don't mind treating someone, this system ensures fairness, especially when someone indulges excessively and barely eats. I recently dipped my toes into the realm of online dating, opting for OkCupid as my starting point. Not long after, I received a message from a guy whose inquiries were oddly fixated on my dental health. Claiming to be a dentistry student, he probed into the condition of my teeth, even seeking details about any cavities. It was a peculiar conversation, but I found it oddly amusing, especially since I had nothing better to do. Soon enough, he proposed switching to phone calls, expressing a disdain for texting and a preference for long conversations. This individual already struck me as a bit peculiar. His profile lacked a photo or any age information, yet I overlooked the potential risks of meeting him. His insistence on an in-person rendezvous raised red flags, but against my better judgment, I acquiesced. I've always been one to yield to pressure, considering myself more of a follower than a leader. We agreed to meet for pizza downtown. Stepping out of my car, I was greeted by a man who was far from what I had envisioned. Older, overweight, and nothing like the ideal match I had hoped for. He seemed to be in his 50s, dressed in oversized clothes and sporting a bald head, except for the hat he wore. My intention on OkCupid was to make friends and take things slow, but he appeared to have other ideas. He eagerly talked about the adventure as we'd have together, leaving me feeling increasingly uncomfortable. Curious about his hat, I inquired, and when he removed it, he revealed a large bump on his head, explaining it was a cyst he feared removing due to its horn-like appearance. As we ate, he hinted at strange plans he had for me, further unsettling me. After the meal, instead of returning me to my car, he had driven us there, leaving me feeling trapped in a bizarre situation. He insisted on checking my teeth right then and there, despite my attempts to decline. His persistence was unnerving, and I felt powerless to resist, as I've always struggled to assert myself. Equipped with purple gloves, a light strapped to his forehead, and a belt full of tools from his car's glove compartment, he prepared to examine my teeth. Panic set in as I realized the gravity of my predicament. The thought of escaping crossed my mind, but fear immobilized me, envisioning him chasing after me with his dental tools. He proceeded to use his tools on me, even taking pictures of my teeth, claiming they would serve as examples for a class he was teaching. When he suggested getting more intimate, I lied about having a boyfriend to escape the situation, but he dismissed my lie, insisting he'd be a better partner and demanding secrecy. That's when I knew I had to escape. I grabbed the car door handle, yanked it open with such force I might have broken it, and ran as fast as I could. I didn't look back, fearing he might come after me with his tools, but I soon realized I could outrun him. He was significantly overweight and struggled to breathe heavily just from examining my teeth. Whether his obsession with dental care was a fetish, or he was indeed a dental student, the collection of dental equipment in his car was alarming. But after his unsettling suggestions, it was clear he was not just an ordinary person with a hobby or profession.